Now we go back to Paris Schutz at the convention in Philadelphia. Paris tonight, of course, was Hillary Clinton's night, but earlier, a current Chicago area resident had the spotlight. Tell us about it.
Well, that would be Hoffman Estates resident Congresswoman Tammy Duckworth, Phil. She spoke on the stage at just after 6 o'clock local time. She, of course, is locked in a heated race for U.S. Senate against incumbent Republican Mark Kirk. And the National Democratic Party really is focused on this race. They think this is one that they can win in their quest to turn over the Senate from Republican to majority Democratic. Now, Tammy Duckworth did not mention her opponent, Mark Kirk, on the stage today, but she did mention the opponent of Hillary Clinton.
By the way, Donald Trump, I didn't put my life on the line to defend our democracy so you could invite Russia to interfere in it.
And now Tammy Duckworth was warmly and loudly received by the whole arena, especially the Illinois delegation. They shouted, "Tammy, Tammy," although there's some private strategists that we talk to that are a little worried about this race. They say they have not seen her out campaigning enough as they want her to, especially in the Chicago area.
Paris, as we wind down the convention, what are some of the takeaways that stay in your mind?
Well, we came here on Sunday, Phil, with whispers and rumblings about who was going to run for governor in 2018 and take on Bruce Rauner. On Monday, the big Democratic power brokers and union leaders at the delegation breakfast urged Dick Durbin to do it, and the rumors have been out there for months, and he didn't close the door on it. And today, Durbin gave his most impassioned speech yet before the delegation, touting his credentials as someone who knows downstate Illinois and Chicago and slamming Governor Rauner.
What this governor has done to our state is inexcusable and unacceptable. He has hurt more innocent people with his so-called turnaround agenda. It'd be one thing if all he hurt were millionaires like himself. I'd say, well, suck it up, buddy. That must be what you believe.
Fans soaked in the atmosphere and paid tribute to loved ones who were not able to be there. Paris Schutz caught up with some of them and top Chicago Cubs brass, and he's here with the latest. Paris, what a day.
Phil, it is an incredible day, and these fans came from all around the country as if on a pilgrimage to a sacred shrine, because to so many of them, Wrigley Field is exactly that. And they came with family members to see that marquee that says World Series champions. Still so hard to believe. They came with generations of family members. They came bearing souvenirs of memories like Cubs great Ernie Banks and Ron Santo and Billy Williams. And it was a euphoric and festive atmosphere all day. There were fans who lined up outside the various merchandise stores near the field to get their hands on apparel that would perhaps serve as tangible proof that, yes, this has really happened. It wasn't all a dream. And beyond the outfield wall, an impromptu memorial sprang up. People coming from far and wide, they picked up a piece of chalk and they started writing names in the brick there, names of long-suffering Cubs fans who did not live long enough to see this day come. And to so many fans today, last night was more than just a curse breaker. It was more than just a win. It was a core moment in their lives that made them think of the people that they had shared so many other moments with.
What were you writing up on the brick wall here?
My sister's name. She passed away a few years ago. As a big Cub fan. And she couldn't be here to see this, but I know she would have loved it.
The Lee Elias, the boys of Zimmer, I mean everything. You know, you think about that, and it all makes that collage of excitement.
He's been a Cub fan. Oh, I think he's looking down on us now. He passed away a few years ago. He is having the time of his life. And he kept saying the last 6 months of his life, oh, I can't go before they win. I can't go before they win. He finally did, but he would be thrilled to death.
Great memories. Paris, among the people soaking in the atmosphere today was one of the Cubs' very top brass. Tell us about that encounter.
He was just in there among the crowd, Phil, kind of taking it all in, seeing what he had partially built with all the other members of the Cubs organization. Crane Kenny, the president of business operations, he had flown in from Cleveland early this morning with the team after last night's victory, and he waxed philosophical about what this meant to the hundreds like Harry Carey, Lou Boudreau, Jack Brickhouse, Ron Santo, that helped build the Cubs legend. But then he seemed a bit bittersweet, wondering, wait, the Cubs have just won the World Series. Now what?
A little worried about the future. You know, I think we all know why we got up every day for
20 years for me, and now what is the next mountain to climb? So there's like a mix of things.
Is that a legitimate worry now that you've kind of climbed Mount Olympus? Where do you go from here?
I think so for me. I think for some of us, I mean, when you think about it, every day you got up, and whether you were missing your kid's birthday party or not getting enough sleep or whatever the topic was, you understood why you did it. Now the question is, why are you doing it, right?
You have all these amazing players that are on their first contract. Are they all going to be affordable in 3-4 years?
Well, that's the point, right? We got to have the resources to make sure when it is free agent time that we can keep all the players we want and add to this team. Listen, Theo and Jed leave tomorrow. I'm sorry, they leave us Monday for the general managers meeting. So one of the interesting things about playing this deep in the season is next year is here. In fact, we have a board meeting. We're going to start planning. Literally, we're in today talking about next year's plan. So not catching our breath much. And trust me, they will be doing things on the field for next year that will improve the club.
So many of these great players, Phil, are on their rookie contracts, so they will have big paydays in the coming years if their performance on the field continues, thus the need to create more revenue. And of course, this is a national story. It's caught the hearts of many people across the country. President Obama even, who's a Southsider and a Sox fan, he says it's a big deal for him because it's been so many years for those Cubs fans.
Thomas Edison was alive, and they hadn't invented sliced bread yet. So you know the expression, "This is the greatest thing since sliced bread"? This is actually, for Cubs fans, the greatest thing since sliced bread. And I want to congratulate the Chicago Cubs for an amazing season.
And watch here last night as Cubs fans erupt when the marquee says Cubs win. They learn the Cubs have ended that 108-year drought, won the World Series, just going bonkers after that 5+ hour affair. And hundreds of thousands streamed onto the streets, out of the establishments in the neighborhood that were packed to the gills. Hours and hours and hours before the game, people just wanted to be around their friends or around their family members. They charged big covers just to get in and reserve tables in some of these places. Some people having a little too much fun, I think. You sense the weight of 100 years on the backs of all of these fans as tension built throughout the night. And manager Joe Maddon addressed that with the press, why he and the players did not feel that weight.
I totally respect what's happened in the past, and I totally respect our fan base. But if you just want to carry the burden with you all the time, tonight would never happen. So for me, it was about, in spring training, trying to define this whole thing. And that's where the really running towards expectations and running towards pressure was really important, I thought.
And all this success will come at a cost. Phil, ticket prices will go up next year. They acknowledged that for much of the last 5 years, the product on the field wasn't very good, so they kept ticket prices flat. Not so anymore, because again, these players are going to be expensive, so it's going to cost more to see them.
System. And all but the most violent defendants were simply released. It's something several groups are now pushing for, and Paris Schutz reports.
Lavette Mays sat in Cook County Jail for more than a year on aggravated battery charges because she could not afford to pay bail.
I was devastated because I knew that my family couldn't come up with $25,000. And it was devastating for my whole family.
She says she ran a transportation service company and had never been arrested before the charges. But that all changed after her bond hearing before a Cook County judge, which she says lasted 30 seconds.
Your life is determined on 30 seconds. When you come to court, you are to stand there with your hands behind your back, not speak or say anything. And while the judge don't look, or he briefly looks at your case, I lost my business that I had going into jail. I lost my home.
Mays is one of thousands who are in jail awaiting trial because they can't afford to pay bail. The MacArthur Justice Center at Northwestern University is suing Cook County to end the practice of monetary bail altogether.
They are people who, under the law, have been determined not to be a risk to the community. They are people who nonetheless languish in jail simply because they cannot pay a bond. Our position in this lawsuit is that that's fundamentally wrong.
The lawsuit has caught the attention of several Cook County public officials who have announced hearings on the bail system, and they say that the criminal justice system discriminates against the poor.
We're not talking about putting dangerous people back out on the street. You're often talking about poor people who have committed a petty offense out of necessity. Not that it's justified, but they don't pose a flight risk. They don't pose a risk to society. Other jurisdictions have recognized this. And again, they're reaching a decision that's morally and economically superior to what we've been doing.
Cook County Chief Judge Tim Evans says he's trying to reform the bond process, including releasing more people on electronic monitoring and a new risk assessment tool for judges that allows them to assign a number to each defendant based upon their expected danger to the community.
The purpose of cash bail is to ensure defendants show up to court hearings to reclaim their money.
We do it now scientifically, data-driven, not based upon what somebody can afford to pay, but instead whether they are risky in terms of committing crimes while they're out, making the public unsafe, or whether they will fail to come to court when they're supposed to.
Evans says the new system has resulted in defendants who commit the lowest level of misdemeanors to be released from jail 96% of the time. But a separate study by Cook County Sheriff Tom Dart, done in April, found that low-level defendants were least likely to post bail, while those who had drug or gun charges were most likely to get back on the street.
If you're involved with the drug trade, a strong possibility you have either money or access to money. If you're involved with a gun case, frequently you will be attached to a gang frequently, and you may have the ability through them or through some other sort to have money to make a bond. For so many of the people involved with property crimes, they are folks who, by nature more often than not, have loads of issues.
Bowman says the consequences to sitting in jail pre-trial are devastating to the defendant, and the costs are onerous to taxpayers.
Being locked up is coercive. It coerces people to plead guilty even if they shouldn't. Being locked up impedes one's ability to cooperate with counsel and prepare for trial. People who are locked up tend to reoffend. And that's not even to mention the absurd costs that we are incurring as a community because of this. It costs over $140 a day to lock someone up in the county jail.
Lavette Mays says she eventually pled guilty to a lesser charge because she didn't want to keep waiting for her case to be tried.
You are guilty in county until proven innocent once you're locked up.
It's a story that many stakeholders say is all too common as Cook County grapples with how to reform its troubled criminal justice system. For Chicago Tonight, this is Paris Schutz.